My husband's mistress thinks she bagged a rich man, but it was my wealth all along. Now I'm kicking them both to the curb and watching them squirm. So I, 39F, have been with my husband, 39M, for 14 years, and we have lived together for 11 of those years. Even though I said husband, we're not legally husband and wife on paper, as we are not legally married. Anyway, he came and told me that he was in love with someone significantly younger than us, 29F, 3 weeks ago. I was surprised at the lack of interest I had in receiving such information. I did love him, but maybe my love has always been conditional, and its survival depends on it being reciprocated, because it literally vanished the second he confessed to me that he was in love with another woman. He didn't want a separation, but maybe to open the relationship or let his feelings for her subside. At that, I said it was over. It was as if I had never had feelings for him at all. He was taken aback by my indifference, which I thought, the freaking audacity. Did he want me to be hurt and suffer? I told him that he should be relieved that he didn't cause pain. Instead, he has been sulking since last Friday. When I got home, the mistress was there, sitting in my kitchen, sipping my tea. I felt nauseous, because seriously, I told them that this wasn't civil at all and to never be in my home again, or I would call the cops. I went to my room, and I heard her yelling at him for not standing up for her. Then I heard her say something very curious. "Why haven't you kicked her out yet?" He was trying to tell her to lower her voice, whispering, "Later. We can discuss this later." She left, and he came to me apologizing. He said, "We didn't smash here, if this is what you are scared of." She just dropped by because I was working from home today. I told him that he had until the end of March to move out and to find somewhere to be during the weekends. This morning, I changed all the locks. From now on, he isn't allowed in my place during my working hours. So if he starts later or finishes earlier, he needs to wait for me to come home and let him in. But his mistress's words stuck with me. So during the weekend, I have been stalking her social media. I think she believes that he is rich, or at least that he owns my apartment. I think she also believes that my parents' summer house and boat are his. Unfortunately, the loser has taken her there. Probably bragging about his wealth because her hashtags were all about the good life. I was telling my best friend 39F all of this, but she was more agitated than indignant on my behalf. She told me that he was dumb for not telling the mistress the truth, and I was in agreement. But then she said I was no better for not explaining his situation to her either. I was dumbfounded, but she was serious. I told her that it wasn't my job to bring the mistress back to earth. My best friend got very angry and demanded that I give her the mistress's username so that she could warn her. I refused, so she called me a bigger prick than he is. Then I don't know what's going on with these people. Have they gone mad or have I? When did our moral compass go ask you like this? Can someone tell me that I am not insane? Update when I did it. I stood up to my former best friend via text, and I confronted her about her non-existent support when I went to her with my woes. I told her that she concentrated on the wrong issue. She should have been my shoulder to cry on. She should have shown up with wine, ice cream, and a shovel. But instead she called me a bigger jerk than my husband. She tried to gaslight me, and I realized that she's always been good at gaslighting. So I interrupted her before she could make me out to be the villain. I asked her bluntly, "Was your husband married when you started sleeping together? You told us that he was married before. We all knew that. But we were under the impression that he was married and divorced before you two met. Was he still married? Is that why you related to the mistress and felt sympathy for her? Because you were her?" She didn't answer me until the next day, calling me a bitter and jealous bleep. This was the last one-on-one interaction with her. I have decided she's been my friend since preschool. But now we need to go our separate ways. Not only to save us from future hurt, but also to save our memories together from pain. I talked to my husband, too, and asked him not to make the separation difficult and bitter so it doesn't ruin all the happiness we felt being together. We cannot look back on a third of our lives with resentment. I asked him to accept my dad's offer. For context, he offered to help him find a lease on an apartment and pay half a year's rent if he moved out without giving me problems. When I got home, he and his clothes were gone. He left an apology letter saying that he will always love me and never meant to hurt me. So I have finally been able to cry my eyes out. And it felt so good. I have been crying ever since I got home. I lost two of my closest people, but this is what happens. When we face hardships, we see people's true faces. I don't know if anything major will happen to prompt more updates, but it is time for me to move on. Edit: do not be mistaken, I'm not helping him out of kindness. I can't just kick the man out without a fight or bribe. If I had started eviction proceedings, I would need at least 6 months to do so, and I didn't want him in my life for this long. Housing is very scarce, and securing a primary lease is almost impossible. My dad has connections with landlords, so he agreed to help him move out. He is living with his parents now until he gets his own place, and I'm happy it didn't get more complicated. This was what my lawyer advised me to do, because taking the eviction route would have dragged it out for months.